Ramy, are you planning to post it somewhere or share the recording?
Well, I don't know exactly how, like they're wanting us to share the recording, like through my YouTube channel or through, because I know all these recordings are going to require some editing of some sort, and because I'm just not a video editor, I don't know how to make it, you know, make it
Well,
smooth, you know.
yeah, it can be edited in like Adobe Premiere Pro. Um, just like basically cut out. Well, if you're talking about, you know, if we're posting a video as a training video,
Yeah,
but
I asked Gerald if he wanted like me to just send him the videos directly, or just to post them to my channel, and I guess let them download them from my channel, or I'm not really sure at this point just yet. But
I mean, it's being like recorded in the cloud.
oh, the through Zoom.
Yeah, I think it's because they're using their stuff as far as the tecme professional, I guess, license.
Okay.
so we can access it later if we wanted to, right?
Yeah, yeah. As far as I know, Colton told me that this will be like recorded. So I'm not sure as far as with the recording. So it could be available after the meeting. I don't know the top of my head. So there'll be Colton,
I would
Gerald.
figure. I'd figure it would be if it's in the cloud somewhere. Things never get erased unless somebody deliberately goes in there and deletes them.
Yeah. So Trina, I just want to kind of just get some feedback from you regarding the first few hours.
Well, so honestly, I don't work on Windows much. I've been using Mac for the past few years. So it's a good thing to know. But as I said, since I'm more of a Mac user, I'm not sure like if I'm gonna use that, but I wanted to join like to see what it's about because I haven't done imaging in the past. But so far, I mean, it looks pretty, I mean, self-explanatory. You know,
And
I'm curious.
I was going to tell you that SCCM now supports Mac deployments.
Mm,
Yes,
yeah, I
there's a
haven't.
support. There's support for Mac deployments from a Windows server, but it's through a third party. I think it's Parallels that's available to support Mac image deployments.
Mm,
And it's now, so basically it could be the thing is in the past that for deploying Mac DMGs you had to use basically I would say like Transmac, or just simply it kind of depends. It could be FTP. It really comes down to where it's hosted. It could be on X server. It could be any system that deploys DMG files. But from what I've heard in the past is that Microsoft has now allowed the software-based interoperability, so you can have it set up to deploy Macs, but it's going to be a little more work to integrate into SCM to allow images of Macs themselves. But they are supported. It's just not physically supported for the vanilla version of MDT. It's a third-party connection that need to be made in order to use Mac deployments.
So me and Tarina are like the perfect people to explain this to, because we've never or haven't ever really worked with servers, right? And,
yeah.
and you know, we just want to learn, basically. I guess that's
No, trust me, you're gonna enjoy it as much as you know. The good thing about MDT is that you drive your own deployments. You build what you want it to be in that image. So it could be the base image that's gonna have basically all of the minimum stuff, and then on top of it, you can have, for example, Office. You're gonna have Firefox. You can have wherever you like in there. That's image and ready to go.
so. Like if it was uh, say like if it was a Mac user, it would be like you get to pick what all kind of programs are coming on your installation image of your software.
Pretty much. So it's layered. And the thing is, it comes down to what you want to include in the image. It doesn't matter if you use DSM. All right, so let me go ahead and so we have Jesus. Oh, that's interesting. Hello and welcome.
Who? Who is it?
Oh,
Did they
that's
just
interesting.
popped in and popped out?
And the screen just made me want to chuckle. Like, what is this?
Are you? This is your
Oh,
screen. Okay, gotcha.
so how are you guys so far? Just
Uh, what's DMT? Did you say DMT or G? What?
MDT.
MDT.
Yeah,
Microsoft
MDT
Deployment Tools. Okay, gotcha. Sorry.
yeah, it's been, now there's a couple of things you probably have not heard. One of them is basically ADK, and we got
80K.
another one
I've
joining
heard of
in.
that one because of Android devices.
Yeah, no, ADK is basically assessment deployment kit.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it's you're assessing and configuring the kit. Your basic so as the first part is assessment, assessing the hardware is it able to deploy,
Oh,
and then deployment where I'm configuring the image.
okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Hello, Emmanuel, and welcome.
Hi everyone, how you guys doing?
Good. Good.
Not too bad. I'll be getting started in the next 30 minutes on how to set up your images in the server. So, so have you been familiar with Windows servers and images before?
Yeah, I have a lot of experience working with Windows servers, creating using different tools.
Yes,
Um,
this is exactly this is gonna be a right fit for you. You're gonna
okay,
be doing this. It's gonna be we're talking about MDT, which is the basically the very simple freeware version of SCCM. And we all know SCCM is not the most perfect.
okay. Yeah, I'm interested just to hear the new ways of rolling out images, and curious to know what other things I could do to improve improve the process, my current process. So I'm interested to hear what you have to show us today.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna come down to basically everything that's involved with instead of using SSM, you would use basically the downgraded version of SSM, which will be the MDT. So you make it simple for yourself. You can customize, and so I'm gonna be talking about that in the next 30 minutes.
Okay, great.
Yeah, right now it is 7:12, so we'll be about 7:30, and by then most likely we'll end around like 8 o'clock. I mean, whichever you guys want to do, I will have it interactive afterwards. So if you guys want to check out and try out some things, I will be giving you guys remote access.
Oh, cool. Cool.
So yeah, for right now, just stick around and just if you want to ask questions, feel free to talk amongst yourselves. This is basically an open group, if you will.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think like I've told Ramy before. I've never been in a server room whatsoever, but I know the basics. Like I just got my certifications not too long ago, but I've never actually had any experience with deploying anything or anything of that nature. So this is just learning for me, basically. And I guess I probably will like post it on YouTube on my channel, Tarina, at least, or share the file with whoever wants the file.
Yeah, you could just share it on Slack if you do post it.
Okay.
I mean, just share the link.
My channel link.
Yeah.
Okay, will do.
Yeah, just to be a popular YouTube fan.
Well, maybe I'll get some followers. I'm not worried about YouTube followers, but I guess from what Gerald said, our only way to get a higher ranking in like Google searches per se is to get more content out there. So I guess this is the best way to do that.
You can say this is kind of one in a minute. There's gonna be a bunch of things going in at once. So Let me show a little bit. Daniel, do you want to kind of see what we're involved here?
Sure.
All right, let me go ahead and. All right, so Daniel, as you can see, this is the Windows Server. And basically, this is unlike the Windows 10 or vanilla desktop source. You're basically on a server. Basically, you can do whatever you like to it. You can set up like anything you like. It depends on if you want to set up a federation service, if you want to set up, FTP, you want to set up
Oh,
just
it
kind of
depends on what
basic role.
your needs are basically.
Yeah, yeah. So a couple of things that it's basically enjoys is so you can see the difference here. This is the actual start menu for the server. So you got the server manager, PowerShell, administrative, and that's the same thing, remote desktop, and then event viewer. And basically, for majority of the time, if you're deploying like rows here, everything is going to be shown here in this kind of overview. This is like your system center, if you will. This is like your overview, like you'll be able to see the current status of everything that's
Like
running.
a
You'll be able to
dashboard.
talk.
Oh yes, it
What's
says
up?
dashboard up there. So I'm sorry.
Oh
My bad.
no. Yeah, so well, it's kind of similar. So it's like it runs everything. It oversees everything that you're doing
On that,
in a
on
nutshell.
one server per se, or
No,
on
you
all
can
servers you
monitor at
control.
multiple servers.
Okay.
You can monitor as much as whatever you can able to monitor. So you can monitor up to, I believe it's up to 50 to 100 servers.
Oh, okay.
So you'll be able to monitor, and you can actually as well control them if you have access to control the servers themselves.
Okay.
And you can privacy. This is the roles and server groups. So basically,
Yes.
depends on if you're the local server, you'll see everything that's related to it. If it's all servers, it could be whatever servers you're controlling.
Okay.
And then on the left, you have the local server and all the roles that are basically installed or basically turned on. So you can see this is the file server, and this is basically the WDS. And then
Windows
I'm going to show you a little thing, for access. And this is basically the same thing you would see in Server 2008 and older. It tells you the about of this machine, what is, like the activation and the model that you have. So this one is an Intel i7 with a 3.20 gigs, and it's running with 2 gigs of RAM in here.
How many gigs of RAM are most servers like deployed with or using?
It comes down to if you're
Oh,
deploying
what
with.
you're planning on, how much you plan on being used, or your scalability, or
It all depends on the physical server. If your server is basically just a regular desktop, it all comes down to how many
okay.
RAMs and the processor you're using.
Oh, the complete machine basically, or virtual
Yeah,
machine.
and if you're going to be doing it on an ESXi or Hyper-V, you have to have I/O,
I
which is input and output,
okay.
and that's
Oh,
that's
yeah,
the
yeah.
equivalent to virtualization.
Okay.
So you need to have a process that supports virtualization. Otherwise, you won't be able to run them. And these are usually found in the Xeon, I believe. No, Xeon, AMDs, and i7s. The i7 for the i9 series.
And
And some of it are still visible in the older generations, the Core 2 Quad and the Core 2 Extreme.
so our virtual machine platform is basically what we were talking about. What you're viewing and controlling.
Exactly.
These,
So it
all
could be,
these with.
you're running the server from your company's environment. They probably have you're using VMware workstation to remotely connect to it. It all depends on what access they gave you to run basically. And some of the things that it allows you to do is basically, for example, to add roles and features or add mergers. If you want to add a server to manage, you can even create a group. So like, okay, so this is the basically domain group, security group. You can have basically folders to basically organize your servers.
Okay.
And that's some basically like you have role-based features. And also, if you remember, I talked about VDIs.
Virtual deployment infrastructure.
No, virtual desktops.
Desktops. Okay.
So basically, the two different things is one is role-based and remote desktop. So the virtual desktop basically it's going to be depending on if you're going to be deploying virtual OS of each machine.
Like
So if
different
you're
ones.
running Windows 7, Windows 8, 10, and you
Right.
can have them all as a virtualized environment. Some people prefer it's the Windows Server acting as the virtual desktop. The server because they want everything to be all in one. But the thing is, I prefer everything run in basically. I have the OS here. I'm going to use the Windows 10 environment straight across,
Okay.
and
So,
then if you click next, and then you want to run, and it asks do you have a disk you want to install it on, or just basically the server you want to run the whole thing on.
it's like
So
where you're going
as
to
you
be
can
pushing
see,
it out to, like what
basically you're
system?
pushing out the rows to which server you want to go to. But if you know a server you want to deploy to, you would basically type in the name or the IP address of that server you want to push it to.
Okay.
Now keep in mind that you won't be doing, but you want to do it if it's offline.
Right.
So this is even mentioned here. This page shows servers that are running 2012 or newer, and that has been added by the source command. Offline servers and newly added is not shown. So you basically, if you're just literally just finished building a brand new server, you won't be able to see it. It has to be physically present on the network, so you're able to do it.
It's got to be booted up and ready to go, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Gotcha.
then these are all the roles that you can do whatever you like to the server. So basically, you have certificate services. This is basically SSL in a nutshell, basically. This is like basically like you want to deploy SSL certificates
Oh yeah.
for Exchange, for
Everything.
IIS, for SharePoint.
Secure socket
Yeah.
layer.
Exactly.
Right.
So this would be kind of like if you're going to be having a portal setup. So you can have the domain controller on one side, the federation server on the other, so that the two can basically exchange info. So like which one's the trusted server, which was the trusted, domain.
Okay.
And then honestly, you should know this is the Active Directory domain service. This is the kind of like the network.
It's the one
Basically.
that controls all the can control all the other
group
group policy.
scripts. Yeah, it will control the group policies, the network access control. So you can configure like basically, if you are logged into a machine that's compromised, it will restrict you from access until you
Put in
basically
the
follow
credentials.
protocols. So like it will tell you to follow the following to, be compliant.
Right.
So it's kind of like so you can set up compliancy based. So it's the same thing. Federation serves it's kind of the same thing. You can have web-based SSO. So if you're Exchange, you can have like a login credentials that's synchronized.
So what is Federation Services exactly? Like is that more corporate or business?
Yes, especially if when it comes down to Exchange, SharePoint, like as well as CRM. So you want to be able to log in using the same credentials. So if I'm logging outside, like tecme, like exchange.tecme.io, then I would use my credentials to log in.
Okay. Oh, so you use the same credentials across all.
Exactly.
Okay.
But the key thing is, it's here. The key is this guy and this one needs to work together.
Okay.
So basically, these guys have to work together, otherwise it won't really do. And then you got the lightweight, right? This is basically specific data you want to have, but this is basically like a lightweight version of AD. So just minimum.
Okay.
So like if you don't really need the full domain, but you won't have much use on it honestly because it's not going to be useful. And then device health, basically to just get information on the devices, DHCP, it.
Yep.
Like to deploy like a pool of IPs.
Yeah.
DNS.
Yep.
Just like what it is.
Oh yeah.
And then the fax server, So if you have like a POTS line, you can have the phone number set up for fax if you know you have any IPs for the fax server running. If you have like um, I guess like recodes, if you have different types of systems running,
Okay.
and then files, the file storage, host guardian to like protect like the virtual machine. So like if you're running like a virtual machine, you want to make sure like it's protected against like malware and whatnot. It will basically also give you encryption like protection.
Oh, so it's an extra layer of
Exactly.
okay of
And then
security,
you know
basically.
this guy Hyper-V.
Yeah, that's the
This would be only
virtualization
installed
platform.
if you actually if Hyper-V is installed on here. That means you're running a virtual machine on top of a virtual machine.
Yeah, that can be like eventually like
So you don't want to use this
Right.
unless you actually are going to run Hyper-V in a headless environment. Now there's a version of the server 2019 called Hyper-V 2019, which is basically, it's a lightweight. The environment has none of the whole interface basically. This interface wouldn't even exist. It would be basically you need to set up the IP address and log on to it from a different computer.
virtual machine inside a virtual machine. That could get really interesting.
I mean, some people want to do it that way, but the thing is, it's gonna make the performance worse at the
Right.
same time.
Well, true. Yes.
I mean,
That is true.
some people want to do it, and then you got network policy and access. So this is kind of related to what I told you about, which is basically safeguard the security. So if your Windows 10 is compromised, like if it has a virus, the server will say, "Hey, wait a minute, why is your Windows 10 has no antivirus?" And then it's going to lock you out until you are compliant.
Oh, we're setting the rules for getting on the
Now, so it's
server.
compliancy basically.
Okay.
So it kind of checks to make sure do you have the latest updates? Are you using this company's AV? Basically, the settings need to be set up to according to what they want you to use. They might have you go to a link to download or configure, like a scripts basically.
So you could make all this to where they can only do it the proper way, and that's it, basically.
Basically, and this also ties in to the HIPAA environment as well. Don't forget, this is kind of related to HIPAA.
Yeah, because if you have personal data or personal health information, you got to protect it. Absolutely.
Basically, the certificates, in fact, they're all tied into it. Okay. So you'll be able to kind of like set up a policy where certain people have access. So it's like on the rights on things you want to know, nothing else.
Yes.
And then you probably also know the same thing, print diagram, which is the server, but you can basically host the printers.
The shared
so like
printers
if you
and
have,
stuff. Yeah.
you can manage different printers on the network and deploy them with group policy or through AD. So you can have it listed and available for anyone to install the printers. So if I'm staying in one office and I have 4 or 5 printers, I can basically go to the Add Printer wizard and then basically click on Active Directory, and I can look for the printers I want to install.
Right.
And basically, you can also manage the documents and things like, and then remote access, the same deal.
Do both of those need to be the remote access and the remote desktop services have to be enabled in order to like remote in?
Yeah, and this is kind of especially like the key is like VPN and web access. So like if you have some things that need to be enabled, so like for you want to log onto the server from outside the network, you're using basically a VPN to connect to it.
Okay.
And then the same thing is remote desktop. This is also not just remote desktop. This is basically remote apps. So if you have like Notepad and Explorer Office on the server, you can configure the application to be available to certain users. So you can have like Outlook available to someone. If you have a Windows 95 or 98 app, but you want to make available, you can do the same thing.
Okay. So
And
you can make it
the
available
volume
for
activation
different-
services is related to if you have a volume key license.
Like
So
an
if you're a
enterprise
volume
license.
license, if you have a volume license with Microsoft, you can add all the keys that's available for you to allow Windows to activate. So this would kind of run like the activations of all the OSs.
Okay.
So you're basically telling it, hey, I want to activate using the license that's available.
Right.
And then the same, it's IIS, kind of like Apache.
Yeah, just
It's
the
kind
basic,
of,
all the basic web services you need to run the
exactly.
server.
And then Windows deployment, it's basically what we call the secure means of deploying the OS to the networks. And then when the server updates, this is basically the
Yeah.
same thing. You can download updates to push out to the machines
And
that's inside the network.
Wouldn't you
Now,
always
I
want to have
warn
that
you on
separate,
this one.
like a separate server for updates, so you can like test the updates before pushing them out to all your servers?
Yes, this is also part of where you can basically put the packages on MDT and be able to basically deploy it.
Okay.
And so, especially if you have maybe Windows 7,
Yeah.
and you want
if you have
like
a bunch of different ones, different
if you want to
Windows.
remove certain KB articles from that server, and you want to have certain files basically. And speaking of which, we are now
Hey,
ready.
Ramy, I just wanted to thank you for the session. I took some screenshots because I thought that would be useful. I mean, I'm gonna look into checking out like how I can do it on Mac.
Yeah.
It is a little different. It's like through the disk utility tool, something like that.
Correct. Yeah.
But
Like on Mac, it's gonna be, I think, per allows I don't know if they have version for the MDT because and now it can be support for both, but it's like I would
You
say
have to get
on
you a
like
Windows
Cherry
computer just to play
Water.
around with it like I
Uncharted
did with
Water.
the Mac.
say it again.
It will be uncharted water when you deploy Macs from a Windows server.
Right.
So it kind of depends. So I just don't know if there's open source Windows. Well, sorry, I'm not sure if there's an open source DMG deployment tool for MDT.
Right. Well,
Okay.
I mean,
We'll look into it
if
and see if we
I
can find a way for you to.
find something on that topic, then I'll share it in the next meeting. I have to hop off real quick, but
Okay.
thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
No problem. And you're more than welcome to come anytime for the next meetings I'm going to be hosting in the near future. So don't worry. You're going to
Awesome.
have plenty of time.
Thank you, Ramy.
No problem. And have a safe night
You too.
or safe morning.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of which, it's time for the next round of session. So let's get going here.
This meeting is being recorded.